The night sky over the Korean mountains was beautiful and clear. Stars filled the darkness like tiny lights scattered across black cloth. The moon was full and bright, casting silver shadows on the tall trees and rocky paths below. Taiho walked slowly through the forest. He was a forest ranger, a man who lived alone in these mountains. His job was to watch over the land, to protect the animals and trees from harm. He was 32 years old, with a kind face and strong hands. His life was simple and quiet. He liked it that way. He carried a flashlight in one hand and a small bag over his shoulder. Inside the bag were some tools and a bottle of water. He was checking the eastern path tonight, making sure no hunters had come into the protected area. The forest was peaceful. Owls called to each other in the darkness. Small animals moved through the bushes. Taiho knew every sound of this forest. He had lived here for 7 years, alone in his small cabin. He had no family, no wife, no children. The forest was his only companion. As he walked, he looked up at the stars. He often wondered if there was life out there, somewhere in that endless darkness. It was a silly thought, he told himself. Just dreams of a lonely man. Then he saw it. A light appeared in the sky. At first, Taiho thought it was a shooting star, but it was too big, too bright. It moved across the sky like a ball of fire, leaving a long trail of smoke behind it. The light was blue and white, not orange like a meteor. Taiho stopped walking. His heart began to beat faster. The light was getting bigger. It was coming down, coming toward the mountains. The sound came next. A terrible, loud sound like thunder that would not stop. It shook the trees. Birds flew up from their nests in fear. Animals ran in all directions. Taiho covered his ears. The sound was too loud. It hurt his head. He fell to his knees on the forest floor. The light passed over him. It was so close that he could feel heat on his face. For a moment, everything was bright as day. He saw something in that light. A shape, a machine, something that was not from this world. Then there was an explosion. The ground shook like an earthquake. Trees bent and some fell over. Taiho was thrown to the side. He hit the ground hard and rolled down a small hill. Dirt and leaves filled his mouth. His ears rang with a high, painful sound. For a long time, he just lay there. He could not think. He could not move. His body hurt everywhere. His mind was empty with shock. Slowly, the ringing in his ears became less. The shaking stopped. The forest became quiet again. But it was a different kind of quiet. A scared quiet. Nothing moved. Nothing made a sound. Taiho pushed himself up. His hands were shaking. His legs felt weak. He looked toward the place where the light had fallen. Through the trees, he could see a strange glow. It was not fire. It was something else. Something blue. He should run away. He knew this. Every part of his mind told him to go back to his cabin, to hide, to pretend he saw nothing. But his feet would not listen. They moved toward the blue light. The walk took him 20 minutes. With each step, the glow became brighter. The forest around him had changed. Trees were broken. The ground was torn up. He could smell something strange in the air. Not smoke. Something sweet and sharp at the same time. Then he reached the crash site. Taiho stopped at the edge of a large hole in the ground. His mouth fell open. His eyes grew wide. He forgot to breathe. In the hole lay a ship. A real ship from space. It was as big as a house, maybe bigger. The metal was silver and smooth, but now it was broken and bent. Blue light came from cracks in its body. Smoke rose from some parts. The ship looked like a wounded animal, breathing its last breaths. For a long moment, Taiho just stared. His mind could not understand what his eyes were seeing. This was impossible. Ships from space did not exist. Aliens did not exist. This was a dream. It had to be a dream, but the heat on his face was real. The smoke in his nose was real. The ground under his feet was real. This was happening. Taeho climbed down into the hole. He did not know why. He did not think about it. His body moved on its own. The heat grew stronger as he got closer to the ship. The metal creaked and groaned. Then he saw them. There was a hole in the side of the ship. Through this hole, he could see inside. And inside, lying on the floor, were two figures. They were not human. Their skin was pale blue, like the sky on a winter morning. Their hair was silver and long, flowing around their heads like water. Their faces were beautiful but strange. Too perfect. Too smooth. Their ears were long and pointed. One of them was tall. A woman, Taeho thought. She wore clothes that looked like they were made of white light. There was a crown on her head. It was broken now, but he could still see its beauty. The other was smaller. A young girl, maybe 16 or 17 years old in human years. She looked like the woman. Mother and daughter, Taeho realized. Both of them were not moving. Their eyes were closed. Silver liquid leaked from wounds on their bodies. It was blood, Taeho understood. Alien blood. He stood there, frozen. What should he do? These were aliens. Real aliens. They could be dangerous. They could be enemies. They could hurt him, but they looked so weak. So hurt, so helpless that the older one moved. Just a little. Her hand twitched. A small sound came from her mouth. It was not a word Taeho understood, but he knew what it meant. Pain. She was in pain. Taeho made his decision. He stepped into the ship through the hole. The inside was hot and full of smoke. Strange machines beeped and flashed around him. He did not understand any of it. He did not care. He went to the woman first. Up close, she was even more beautiful. Even covered in blood and dirt, she looked like something from a fairy tale. A queen from another world. Taeho touched her shoulder. Her skin was cool, not warm like human skin. Her eyes opened, golden eyes. Eyes like liquid gold. They looked at him. Into him. Through him, Taeho felt fear. Real, deep fear. Those eyes were old, ancient. They had seen things he could never imagine. They held power he could never understand. But there was something else in those eyes, too. Fear, pain, hope. The woman's mouth moved. She spoke, but Taeho did not understand the words. The language was strange and musical. Like singing, but not. I do not understand, Taeho said. His voice was shaking. But I will help you. I promise. The woman looked at him for a long moment. Then her eyes moved to the girl beside her. Her daughter. The fear in her golden eyes grew stronger. Taeho understood. She was not afraid for herself. She was afraid for her child. I will help her too, Taeho said. I will help both of you. The woman's hand reached up. It touched Taeho's face. Her fingers were cold and soft. She said something else. Again, he did not understand the words, but he felt their meaning somehow. Thank you. Then her hand fell. Her eyes closed. She became still again. Taeho worked quickly after that. He did not think about how strange this was. He did not think about the fact that he was touching aliens. He just worked. First, he checked the woman for injuries. There was a deep cut on her arm. Another on her leg. Her breathing was weak but steady. She was alive. Then he checked the girl. She had a wound on her head. Blood covered half her face. Her breathing was even weaker than her mother's. The fire was spreading. Taeho could feel the heat growing. He had to get them out. Now, he lifted the girl first. She was lighter than a human her size would be. He carried her out of the ship and laid her on the ground far from the fire. Then he went back for the woman. She was heavier than the girl, but Taiho was strong. Years of living in the mountains had made his body hard. He lifted her onto his shoulder and carried her out. The ship exploded behind him. Taiho was thrown forward. He fell, but he held on to the woman. He curled his body around her to protect her from the fire and metal that flew through the air. When it was over, he looked back. The ship was gone. Only fire remained. Taiho looked at the two aliens lying on the ground before him. Their faces were peaceful now. They were alive, but barely. He had to save them. His cabin was far. 2 hours walking. He could not carry both of them at the same time. But he could not leave one behind either. Taiho found a solution. There were long branches on the ground, broken from trees by the crash. He used his rope to tie them together. He made a simple bed, like the ones he had seen in old books. A stretcher. He put both aliens on the stretcher. It was heavy. Too heavy. His shoulders screamed with pain. His legs felt like they would break. But he walked up one step at a time, one breath at a time, through the dark forest, over rocks and roots, past frightened animals and fallen trees. The night was cold, but Taiho was covered in sweat. His muscles burned. His heart pounded. Every part of him wanted to stop, to rest, to give up. He did not stop, because every time he wanted to stop, he looked at the two faces on the stretcher, the mother and daughter, the aliens who had fallen from the sky. They needed him. They had no one else, and Taiho had been alone for too long. He knew what it felt like to have no one. He would not let them feel that way. Not if he could help it. The sun was beginning to rise when he finally reached his cabin. Pink and orange lights spread across the sky. Birds began to sing again. The world was waking up. Taiho kicked open the door of his cabin. He pulled the stretcher inside. He laid the aliens on his bed, the only bed in the small house. Then he fell to the floor. His body could not move anymore. His eyes could not stay open. The world became dark, but before he lost consciousness, Taiho felt something. A small hand touching his, cold fingers wrapping around his jaw. Taiho woke up on the cold floor of his cabin. His body hurt in places he did not know could hurt. Every muscle was sore. Every bone felt heavy. For a moment, he did not remember what had happened. Then he heard breathing. Strange breathing. Not human breathing. Everything came back to him. The crash. The ship. The aliens. He pushed himself up from the floor. Pain shot through his arms and back, but he ignored it. He looked at his bed. They were still there. The two aliens. The mother and daughter from the stars. Taiho stood up slowly. His legs shook under him. He walked to the bed and looked down at his strange guests. In the morning light. He could see them better now. Their skin was a beautiful shade of blue. Not dark blue, but light blue, like a clear sky or shallow water. Their silver hair spread across his pillow like streams of moonlight. Their faces were smooth and perfect, without any mark or spot, but they were also hurt. Very hurt. The mother had wounds he had not seen in the dark. There was a long cut across her stomach. The silver blood had dried, but the wounds still looked bad. Her breathing was shallow and fast. Her skin, which had been cool before, was now hot. Too hot. Fever. She had a fever. The daughter was in better condition, but not by much. The wound on her head had stopped bleeding, but her face was very pale. Paler than before. She was shaking slightly, like she was cold even though the cabin was warm. Taiho felt panic rise in his chest. He was not a doctor. He was just a forest ranger. He knew how to take care of the forest, not how to take care of aliens. What if he did something wrong? What if he hurt them more? But he had no choice. There was no hospital nearby. No doctor. No one to help. Just him. He took a deep breath. One thing at a time, he told himself. Start with what you know. First, he needed to clean the wounds. Infection was the biggest danger. He had seen animals die from infected wounds. He would not let that happen to these two. Taeho went to his small kitchen. He boiled water on his old stove. While he waited, he gathered all the medicine he had. It was not much. Some bandages, some cream for cuts, some pills for fever and pain. Would human medicine work on aliens? He did not know. He hoped so. When the water was ready, he poured it into a bowl. He added some salt to make it clean. Then he took some clean cloths and went back to the bed. He started with the daughter. She was younger, and somehow that made him more worried about her. He carefully cleaned the blood from her face. Her skin felt strange under his fingers. Smooth like silk. Cool like water. The wound on her head was not as deep as he had feared. It had already started to close. Alien bodies healed fast, it seemed. That was good. Very good. He put some cream on the wound and covered it with a bandage. The girl did not move. She did not open her eyes. But her breathing became a little easier. Then he turned to the mother. Her wounds were worse. Much worse. The cut on her stomach was deep. When he cleaned it, more silver blood came out. Taeho's hands shook. He had never seen so much blood before. He worked carefully. Slowly, he cleaned the wound as best as he could. He put cream on it. He wrapped bandages around her body. The white cloth quickly became spotted with silver, but the fever was the real problem. Taeho touched her forehead. It was burning hot. Hotter than any human fever he had felt. Her golden eyes moved under her closed eyelids. Her lips moved, speaking words in her alien language. She was dreaming. Bad dreams from the look on her face. What could he do? Human fever medicine might not work. It might even be dangerous. But doing nothing was also dangerous. Taeho made a choice. He crushed a fever pill into powder. He mixed it with a little water. Then, very carefully, he opened the alien woman's mouth and poured the medicine in. She coughed a little. Her face twisted with discomfort. But she swallowed. Now he could only wait. The day passed slowly. Taeho did not leave the cabin. He sat in a chair by the bed and watched his two patients. He checked their wounds. He gave them water when he could. He changed their bandages. Outside, the world continued as normal. Birds sang. Wind blew through the trees. The sun moved across the sky. But inside the cabin, time seemed to stop. Taeho found himself looking at the aliens more and more. They were so different from humans. So strange. But also so beautiful. The mother especially. Even sick and hurt, she was the most beautiful being he had ever seen. Her face was like art. Her body was graceful even when still. She wore that strange dress made of what looked like light. It had been damaged in the crash, but it still glowed softly. And the crown on her head. Taeho looked at it closely now. It was made of some metal he did not recognize. Silver and gold mixed together. There were small jewels in it, but they were not like any jewels from Earth. They seemed to have light inside them, like tiny stars. A crown meant royalty. Was this woman a queen? A princess? Something more? Taeho shook his head. It did not matter who she was. Right now, she was just someone who needed help. That was all that mattered. As the sun began to set, the mother's fever got worse. Her body shook. Her skin changed color, becoming darker blue in some places. She made sounds of pain, small cries that hurt Taeho's heart to hear. He did everything he could think of. He put cold claws on her forehead. He gave her more medicine. He held her hand and talked to her, even though he knew she could not understand him. Please, he said. Please do not die. Your daughter needs you. Please. Hours passed. The night came. Taiho's eyes grew heavy, but he refused to sleep. He could not sleep. Not when she might die at any moment. At some point during the night. The daughter woke up. Taiho was changing the cloth on the mother's forehead when he heard a soft sound behind him. He turned and saw the young alien girl looking at him. Her eyes were golden too, like her mother's. But they were different somehow. Younger, less ancient, more innocent. They were filled with fear and confusion as they looked around the strange cabin. Then they found her mother. And the fear became terror. The girl tried to sit up. She cried out in pain and fell back down. She reached toward her mother with a shaking hand. Tears ran down her blue face. She spoke in her alien language, fast and desperate. Taiho did not understand the words, but he understood the feeling. She was calling for her mother, begging her to wake up, to be okay. She is alive, Taiho said softly. He pointed at the mother. See? She is breathing, alive. The girl looked at him. Her eyes were wide with fear. She was scared of him, Taiho realized. Of course she was. He was an alien to her, just as she was an alien to him. I will not hurt you, Taiho said. He held up his hands to show they were empty. I want to help. Help you. Help your mother. The girl did not seem to understand his words, but she understood something. Maybe his tone. Maybe his face. Maybe just his actions. She looked at the bandages on her head. She touched them gently. Then she looked at the bandages on her mother's body. She saw the bowl of water, the medicine, the clean cloths. Understanding came to her eyes. This strange creature had helped them, saved them. She looked at Taiho again. This time, there was less fear in her eyes. Still fear, yes, but also something else. Something like trust beginning to grow. She said something to him. Her voice was soft and musical, like water running over stones. Taiho did not understand the words, but he heard the question in them. My name? He guessed. He pointed at himself. Taiho, I am Taiho. The girl repeated the word. Taiho. It sounded different in her voice. More beautiful somehow. Then she pointed at herself. She said a word. A name. Taiho tried to repeat it, but the sounds were impossible for his human mouth. He could not make the right sounds. The girl smiled a little at his attempt. It was a sad smile, but still a smile. Sora, Taiho said. It was a name from his own language that sounded a little like what she had said. I will call you Sora. Is that okay? The girl seemed to accept this. She pointed at her mother and said another alien name. Taiho tried again and failed again. Yuna, he said finally. I will call her Yuna. The girl nodded slightly. Then her eyes went back to her mother. The worry returned to her face. She reached out and took her mother's hand. She has a fever, Taiho said. He touched his own forehead and pretended to be sick. Fever. Hot. But I am helping. Medicine. He pointed at the pills in the water. SOR. I watched him carefully. She seemed to understand. She nodded again, more slowly this time. Then she did something that surprised him. She moved closer to him. With her other hand, the one not holding her mother, she touched his arm. It was a gentle touch. A thankful touch. She spoke again. The words were still strange to him, but the meaning was clear. Thank you. Thank you for helping us. Taiho felt something warm in his chest. It was a feeling he had not felt for a long time. The feeling of being needed, of being trusted, of being important to someone. You are welcome, he said softly. I will not let you down. I promise. The night continued. Sora stayed awake, watching her mother with worried eyes. Taiho stayed awake too, watching both of them. Sometime after midnight, Yuna's fever reached its highest point. She was shaking so hard that the whole bed moved. Her face was twisted with pain. Her golden eyes opened, but they did not see anything. They looked at something far away, something in her mind. She spoke then, fast and scared. Calling out names, maybe. Giving orders, maybe. Taiho could not tell, but he could hear the fear in her voice. Taiho reached the cabin as the first light of dawn touched the sky. His body was beyond tired. Every muscle screamed for rest. His eyes could barely stay open, but he held the white box tight against his chest. The most precious cargo he had ever carried. When he opened the cabin door, he found both aliens awake. Sora was sitting by her mother's side, holding her hand. Yuna was lying flat, her breathing shallow and fast. She looked worse than before. Her blue skin had dark patches now. Her eyes were half closed. Sora looked up when Taiho entered. Her eyes found the white box immediately. Hope exploded across her face like sunrise after a long dark night. "You found it," she whispered. "You found it." Taiho nodded. He crossed the room quickly and handed the box to Sora. "Show me what to do. How to use it." Sora took the box with shaking hands. She opened it carefully. Inside, there were several small glass tubes filled with glowing blue liquid. There was also a device that looked like a pen. A needle came out of one end. "This," Sora said, picking up one of the tubes and the pen device. "Put tube here." She showed him how to load the tube into the device. "Then put needle here." She pointed at the wound on her mother's stomach. "Push button. Medicine goes in." It seemed simple enough, but Taiho's hands were shaking too, from exhaustion. From fear. From the weight of what he was about to do. "I will do it," Sora said. "You are tired. Your hands shake." She was right. He was in no condition to perform what was basically surgery on an alien Empress. But still, he hesitated. What if something went wrong? What if the medicine did not work? What if they were too late? Sora seemed to read his thoughts. "It will work," she said firmly. "It must work. Mother is strong. She will live." There was fear in her voice, hidden beneath the brave words. Fear of losing her mother. Fear of being alone in this strange world. Fear of everything. Taiho put his hand on her shoulder. "She will live," he agreed. "Let me help. Hold her still while you inject." They worked together. Taiho gently removed the bandages from Yuna's stomach. The wound looked bad in the morning light. The edges were dark. The silver blood around it had turned gray. Poison spreading through her body. Sora took a deep breath. She positioned the needle over the wound. Her hands were steady now, focused. "I am sorry, Mother," she whispered. "This will hurt." She pushed the button. Yuna's body jerked. A scream came from her mouth, high and terrible. Her back arched off the bed. Her hands grabbed at the sheets. Her golden eyes flew open, wide with pain. Taiho held her down gently but firmly. "It is okay," he said, even though he knew she could not understand him. "It is medicine. It will help. Just hold on. Just hold on." The blue liquid flowed into the wound. Where it touched the dark, poisoned flesh, light appeared. The darkness began to fade. The wound began to change. Yuna screamed again. Tears ran down her blue face. Her whole body shook with pain. Then suddenly she stopped. Her body relaxed. Her eyes closed. She lay still. For one horrible moment, Taiho thought she was dead. He reached for her neck to check her pulse. "No," Sora said quickly. "She lives. Listen." Taiho listened. He heard breathing. Slow, deep breathing. Not the shallow, fast breathing of before. Real breathing, Healthy breathing. He looked at the wound. His eyes went wide. It was healing. Right before his eyes, the flesh was coming together. The dark edges were becoming light again. The wound was closing. Alien medicine, Sora said with a small, tired smile. Very strong. She will sleep now. Many hours. When she wakes, she will be better. Taiho sat back. The relief that washed over him was so strong that he almost fell over. She was going to be okay. Yuna was going to live. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to cry. He wanted to sleep for 1,000 years. Instead, he just sat there, staring at the healing wound. Watching the miracle happen, Sora put away the medical device. She looked at her mother's peaceful face. Then she looked at Taiho. You saved her, she said. Twice. First from the crash. Now from the poison. You saved the Empress of the Celestial Empire. Do you understand what that means? Taiho shook his head. He was too tired to think about what anything meant. Sora sat down on the floor next to him. She was tired too. They were all tired. My mother rules 3,000 worlds, Sora said. Billions of beings follow her commands. She is the most powerful person in our empire. And you, a simple human from a small planet, saved her life. The empire will honor you. They will write songs about you. They will tell stories of the human who rescued the Empress. 3,000 worlds. Billions of beings. An empire that stretched across the stars. It was too much for Taiho's tired mind to understand. I do not need songs, he said. I do not need stories. I just wanted to help. Sora looked at him. Her golden eyes were soft. That is why the songs will be so good. Because you did not do it for reward. You did it because you are kind. They sat in silence for a while. The sun rose higher. Light filled the cabin. Birds sang outside. Then Sora spoke again. Can I ask you something? Of course. You said you were alone before. Why? You seem like a good person. A kind person. Why would such a person be alone? Taiho was quiet for a long moment. This was a question he did not often answer. A question he did not often think about. But something about this girl, this alien princess, made him want to tell the truth. I had a family once, he said slowly. Parents. A sister. They died. Many years ago. In an accident. I was the only one who survived. Sora's eyes filled with sadness. I am sorry. After that, I could not stay around people. It hurt too much. I came to these mountains. I became a forest ranger. I lived alone. It was easier, safer, no one to lose, no one to miss, but also no one to love, no one to care for. Yes, Taiho admitted. Also that. Sora was quiet for a moment. Then she said, we have a saying in my culture. The heart that closes to stop pain also closes to stop joy. Being alone protects you, but it also traps you. Taiho looked at her. This young alien girl who had known him for only a few days. Who understood him better than people who had known him for years. Maybe you are right, he said. Maybe I have been hiding. Maybe it is time to stop. Sora smiled. It was a beautiful smile. Warm and bright. Maybe it is. They sat together, not talking, just being. The silence was comfortable. The kind of silence that happens between people who understand each other. Then Taiho's body finally gave up. He had been running on nothing for too long. His eyes closed on their own. His head nodded forward. Taiho? Sora's voice came from far away. Are you okay? He tried to answer, but his mouth would not work. He tried to open his eyes, but they were too heavy. The last thing he felt was hands. Small, cool hands guiding him down, laying him on something soft. A pillow under his head. a blanket over his body. The last thing he heard was Sora's voice, soft and gentle. "Rest now, brave human. You have earned it." Then there was nothing but darkness and peace. Taeho dreamed. He dreamed of stars. Thousands of stars. Millions of stars. He was floating among them, weightless and free. There was no pain here. No loss. No loneliness. Just endless light stretching in every direction. A voice came from somewhere. It was not speaking any language he knew, but he understood it anyway. "You are not alone anymore," the voice said. "You saved us. Now we will save you." He saw them in his dream. Yuna and Sora. They were standing among the stars, glowing with silver light. They were smiling at him, reaching out to him. "Come with us," they said. "Be part of our family. You will never be alone again." Taeho reached back. His hand touched theirs, and the stars exploded into light. He woke up slowly. The light of the real world came back to him bit by bit. First the feeling of the blanket on his body. Then the smell of the cabin, wood and herbs. Then sounds. Soft talking. Two voices speaking in a language he did not understand. He opened his eyes. He was lying on the bed. The same bed where Yuna had been lying. How had he gotten here? He turned his head and saw them. Yuna was sitting in the chair beside the bed. The chair where he had sat for 3 days watching over her. She was watching over him now. Her golden eyes were clear and alert. Her face had color again. Blue, healthy color. The dark patches were gone. She looked strong, alive. She was wrapped in a blanket, and she was looking at him with an expression he could not read. Sora was standing beside her mother. When she saw that Taeho was awake, her face lit up with joy. "You are awake," she said. "We were worried. You slept for a whole day." A whole day? He had been asleep for 24 hours. No wonder his body felt so strange. Weak but rested. Tired but renewed. The medicine worked? He asked, looking at Yuna. "Yes," Sora said. "Mother is much better now. She is still weak, but the poison is gone. She will be fully healed in a few more days." Yuna spoke then. Her voice was stronger than before. Still soft, still musical, but with power behind it. The voice of an empress. Sora translated. "Mother says she owes you a debt she can never repay. She says you are the bravest and kindest being she has ever met. She says..." Sora paused, her cheeks turning a darker shade of blue. "She says when we first crashed, she thought humans were primitive creatures. Simple animals. She was wrong. Very wrong." Taeho did not know what to say. He had never been good with compliments. He just nodded. Yuna spoke again. This time, she leaned forward in her chair. Her golden eyes were intense, focused on his face. Sora translated more slowly this time, making sure to get every word right. "Mother says she's been thinking about the future." Sora was crying. She held her mother's hand with both of hers. She called to her over and over. But Yuna did not hear. Taeho did not know what else to do. The medicine was not enough. The cold claws were not. 3 days passed since the crash. 3 long, hard days that tested Taeho in ways he had never been tested before. Each day followed the same pattern. Wake up early. Check the wounds. Change the bandages. Give medicine. Make food. Give water. Watch. Taeho barely slept. When he did sleep, it was only for a few hours at a time. Always in the chair beside the bed. Always with one eye half open, ready to wake up if something went wrong. His body was tired. More tired than it had ever been. His eyes had dark circles under them. His hands shook sometimes when he was not paying attention. But he refused to stop. He refused to rest properly. Not until they were better. Sora recovered faster than her mother. By the second day, she could sit up on her own. By the third day, she could stand and walk a few steps, though she was still weak. She watched Tai-Ho constantly. Her golden eyes followed him wherever he went. At first, Tai-Ho thought she was still scared of him. But slowly, he realized it was something else. She was studying him, trying to understand him. Sometimes she would point at things and look at him with questions in her eyes. Tai-Ho would say the human word for the thing. Chair, table, window, water. Sora would repeat the words, learning them quickly. Her accent was strange, but her memory was perfect. She was smart, Tai-Ho realized. Very smart. In just 3 days, she had learned dozens of human words. Not enough to have a real conversation, but enough to communicate simple things. Hungry? Tai-Ho would ask double quotes, yes. Hungry, Sora would answer. Water? Please, water. Small words. Simple words. But they meant everything. Yuna was not recovering as well. Her fever was gone, but she was still very weak. She slept most of the time, waking only for short periods. When she was awake, she would look around the cabin with confused, tired eyes. Sometimes she would look at Sora and smile weakly. Sometimes she would look at Tai-Ho with something like wonder in her golden eyes. But mostly, she slept. Tai-Ho worried about her. The wound on her stomach was healing, but slowly. Too slowly. And she was not eating enough. He tried to give her soup, but she could only swallow a few spoonfuls before falling asleep again. On the morning of the third day, Tai-Ho sat in his chair and looked at his 2 alien guests. Sora was sitting on the bed next to her mother, holding her hand. Yuna was asleep, her chest rising and falling with slow breaths. They looked so alone, Tai-Ho thought. Lost in a strange world with no way to go home. Their ship was destroyed. Their people were far away. They had nothing and no one except each other. And him, Tai-Ho felt something strange in his chest. A feeling he could not name. It was warm and tight at the same time. It made him want to protect these 2 aliens. To keep them safe. To make sure nothing bad ever happened to them again. Was this what caring felt like? He had forgotten. It had been so long since he had cared about anyone. Sora noticed him looking. She turned her head and met his eyes. For a moment, they just looked at each other. 2 beings from different worlds, sharing a moment of understanding. Then Sora spoke. Tai-Ho, she said carefully. Why? Help. It was the longest sentence she had spoken so far. She had been saving words, putting them together, working out how to ask this question. Why did he help them? He could have left them in the crash. He could have run away. He could have called the government or the military. He did not have to carry them through the forest. He did not have to take care of them. He did not have to do any of this. Why did he? Tai-Ho thought about the question. It was a good question. He was not sure he knew the answer himself. I do not know, he said slowly. Maybe because you needed help. Maybe because it was the right thing to do. He paused. Maybe because I was alone. And you were alone. And I did not want either of us to be alone anymore. Sora looked at him. She did not understand all the words, but she understood enough. Her golden eyes became soft, gentle. Thank you, she said. Tai-Ho, thank you. Tai-Ho smiled. You are welcome. The day continued. Tai-Ho made food. Simple food that might be safe for aliens. Rice and vegetables and clear soup. Sora ate slowly, making faces at some tastes but accepting others. In the afternoon, Tai-Ho went outside to gather herbs. There were plants in the forest that could help with healing. His grandmother had taught him about them when he was young. He had never thought he would use that knowledge for aliens. When he came back with his basket of herbs, He found something unexpected. SOR was standing by the window, looking out at the forest. The sunlight fell on her blue skin, making it glow. Her silver hair moved slightly in the breeze from the open window. She looked like a painting, like something from a dream. But that was not the unexpected thing. The unexpected thing was Yuna. She was awake. Really awake. Sitting up in the bed, looking at Taiho with clear, focused eyes. Taiho stopped in the doorway. His heart jumped in his chest. Yuna spoke. Her voice was weak but steady. The words were in her alien language, but her tone was formal. Official, like she was making an announcement. SOR turned from the window. She listened to her mother speak, then turned to Taiho. She seemed to be thinking about how to translate. Mother says, Sora began carefully. She is Empress of many stars, many worlds. She touched the broken crown on her mother's head. You have saved royalty, she says. Great honor, great debt. Empress. Taiho had guessed she was royalty from the crown, but an empress? A ruler of many worlds? He had saved an alien queen. He should have been shocked, or scared, or at least impressed. But strangely, he felt none of those things. He just looked at Yuna and saw a sick woman, a worried mother, someone who needed help. Tell her, Taiho said to Sora, that it does not matter. She could be an empress or a farmer. I would still help. Everyone deserves help when they are hurt. Sora translated. Yuna listened. Her golden eyes widened slightly. Then something happened that Taiho did not expect. The Empress smiled. Thought it was a small smile, just a tiny curve of her blue lips. But it changed her whole face, made her look younger, softer, more human somehow. She spoke again. Sora translated. Mother says, you are strange human, different from what she expected. She says, she is grateful. Taiho nodded. He walked to the bed and set down his basket of herbs. Tell her she needs to eat more and rest more. She is still very sick. The wound on her stomach worries me. Sora translated. Yuna looked down at her bandaged stomach. Her smile faded. She said something back. Mother says, she knows. The weapon that hurt her was poison. Alien poison. It is in her blood. Human medicine helps, but cannot fix. She needs our medicine. From our ship. The ship. The ship that had been destroyed. The ship that was now nothing but ashes and melted metal. Taiho felt cold. Is there any medicine left? Anything that survived the crash? Sora asked her mother. The conversation went back and forth for a minute. Taiho watched their faces, trying to understand even though he could not follow the words. Finally, Sora turned to him. Maybe. Mother says there was a medical box on the ship. Strong metal. Maybe it survived. But the crash site is far. Mother is too weak to go. And I. She looked down at her own weak body. I am not strong enough yet. Taiho understood. Someone needed to go back to the crash site and search for this medical box. And there was only one person who could do it. I will go, he said. Both aliens looked at him. Sora's eyes were wide with surprise. Yuna's eyes were filled with something else. Concern? Or maybe doubt. It is dangerous, Sora said. The crash. It made a big hole in the ground. Things could fall. Also, maybe people come to look. Government people, military. They will ask questions. She was right. By now, someone had probably noticed the crash. Maybe satellites had seen it. Maybe planes were searching the area. Going back there was risky. But staying here and watching Yuna die was not an option. I will be careful, Taiho said. Tell me what this medical box looks like. What color? What size? I will find it. Sora spoke to her mother again. Yuna listened, then looked at Taiho for a long moment. Her golden eyes seemed to see right through him, to see his heart, his soul. Then she nodded. She spoke, and Sora translated. Mother says, the box is white, small, like this. She showed the size with her hands. About the size of a shoebox. It has a symbol on it. A star with 6 points. Inside is medicine. Liquid. Blue color. You must inject it. Into the wound. Inject it. Taiho did not have needles, but he could figure that out later. First, he needed to find the box. I will leave now, he said. I can reach the crash site before dark if I hurry. I will be back tonight. Do not worry. He grabbed his bag and his flashlight. He put on his hiking boots. He was about to leave when he felt a hand on his arm. It was Sora. She had gotten up from beside her mother and crossed the room without him noticing. Her golden eyes were wet with something that looked like tears. Be safe, she said. Her voice was shaking. Please, come back. Taiho looked at her. At this alien girl who he had known for only 3 days. Who he had carried through the forest. Who he had watched over while she slept. Who was now looking at him like he was the most important person in the world. I will come back, he promised. I always keep my promises. Sora nodded. She let go of his arm. Taiho looked at Yuna. The Empress was watching him from the bed. She raised one hand weakly. Our ship is destroyed. We have no way to contact our people. It may be many seasons before Taiho woke up to warmth on both sides of his body. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Forgot what had happened. His mind was still lost in the comfortable darkness of deep sleep. Then he felt it. Something soft against his right shoulder. Something else soft against his left shoulder. He opened his eyes. Yuna was curled against his right side. The Empress of 3,000 worlds had her head resting on his shoulder. Her silver hair spread across his chest like a river of moonlight. Her blue face was peaceful, relaxed in a way he had never seen before. One of her hands rested on his arm, holding him gently. So R.A. was on his left side. The princess had curled up like a child, her head also on his shoulder. Her breathing was slow and steady. A small smile played on her blue lips. She looked happy. Safe. Taiho did not move. He barely breathed. He was afraid that if he moved even a little, this moment would break like a fragile dream. He lay there, looking at the ceiling of his cabin, feeling the weight of 2 alien royals against his body. It was the strangest thing that had ever happened to him. And somehow, also the most natural thing in the world. How had this happened? A week ago, he had been alone. A hermit in the mountains. A man with no family, no friends, no one to care about. A man who had given up on love and connection. Now he was lying in bed with an Empress, and her daughter resting on his shoulders. Now he was part of something. Part of a family. Life was very strange. Sometimes. The morning light grew stronger. Eventually, he had to move. His body needed food, water, the toilet. He tried to get up as gently as possible. But the moment he shifted, Yuna's eyes opened. Those golden eyes. Ancient and wise. Beautiful beyond description. They looked at him, and Taiho felt like she could see every thought in his head, every feeling in his heart. Then she smiled. That small, gentle smile he had seen only twice before. But this time, it was different. Warmer. More personal. She spoke softly. Just a few words. Her voice was still rough from sleep, but there was tenderness in it. Taiho did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Good morning. Thank you. I am glad you are here. Good morning, he whispered back. Sora stirred on his other side. Her golden eyes opened too, blinking in the morning light. When she realized where she was and how she was lying, her blue face turned a deeper shade. Embarrassment. "I am sorry," she said quickly, pulling away. "I did not mean to." "It is okay," Taiho said. "I did not mind." Sora looked at him. Her embarrassment slowly faded into something else. Gratitude, maybe. Or affection. They got up slowly. The morning routine began. Taiho made breakfast while Yuna and Sora washed their faces and straightened their strange glowing clothes. The cabin was small, so they kept bumping into each other. Each time, there would be apologies and small laughs. It felt domestic, normal, like a real family starting a real day. After breakfast, Yuna wanted to go outside. She had been in the cabin for almost a week now. She wanted to see this world that had saved her life. Taiho was worried. What if someone saw her? What if the government people from the crash site were searching the forest? But Yuna insisted. And when an Empress insisted, it seemed there was no arguing. They walked out together. Yuna was still weak, so she held onto Taiho's arm for support. Sora walked on her other side, ready to catch her if she fell. The forest was beautiful that morning. The sun filtered through the leaves, creating patterns of gold and green. Birds sang their morning songs. A light breeze carried the smell of flowers and fresh earth. Yuna stopped walking. She stood still, looking around with wide golden eyes. Sora translated her mother's whispered words. "Mother says this world is beautiful. She has seen many planets. Thousands of planets. But this one, she says there is something special here. Something she cannot explain." Taiho looked around at the forest he had known for 7 years. He tried to see it through Yuna's eyes. Through the eyes of someone who had traveled across stars and seen wonders beyond imagination. "It is just a forest," he said. "Nothing special." Yuna spoke again. This time, she looked directly at him as she spoke. "Mother says the forest is not what makes it special," Sora translated. "The people are. You are. She says she has ruled for hundreds of years. She has met millions of beings from hundreds of species. But she has never met anyone like you. Hundreds of years. Millions of beings. And she had never met anyone like him?" Taiho did not know what to say. He was just a simple man. A forest ranger. A nobody. What could possibly make him special to someone like Yuna? As if reading his thoughts, Yuna spoke again. Longer this time. More serious. Sora listened carefully before translating. "Mother says most beings in the universe are selfish. They act for reward, for power, safety. Even kindness usually has a price. But you helped us with no thought of reward. You risked your life for strangers from another world. You gave us everything and asked for nothing. Mother says that kind of purity is rare. So rare that she thought it no longer existed. You proved her wrong." Taiho felt his face grow warm. He looked away, uncomfortable with the praise. "I did not do anything special. Anyone would have helped." Yuna laughed softly. It was a beautiful sound. Like music from another world. Sora smiled at his embarrassment. "Mother says you are wrong. She says most beings would have run away, or called for help, or tried to use the situation for gain. You did none of those things. You just helped, because it was the right thing to do. That is what makes you special." They continued walking through the forest. Yuna kept stopping to look at things. Flowers, trees, insects, everything fascinated her. Everything was new and wonderful. At one point, she bent down to look at a small flower growing beside the path. It was a simple wildflower. Purple petals. Yellow center. Nothing remarkable, but Yuna looked at it like it was the most precious thing she had ever seen. She reached out and touched the petals gently. Then she said something soft and sad. Mother says this flower is beautiful, Sora translated. She says our empire has many things. Technology, power, wealth, but we have lost things too. Simple things. Innocent things. We have become so advanced that we forgot to stop and look at flowers. Taiho thought about this. It was strange to think that beings who traveled among the stars and ruled thousands of worlds had lost something so simple. But maybe that was how progress worked. You gained some things. You lost others. Then stay, he said before he could stop himself. Stay here. Learn to look at flowers again. The words hung in the air. Taiho wished he could take them back. It was a stupid thing to say. These were not regular people. They were royalty, an empress and a princess. They had responsibilities, duties, billions of beings waiting for them to return. They could not stay in a small cabin in the Korean mountains just to look at flowers. But Yuna did not laugh at his words. She did not dismiss them. She stood up from the flower and looked at him. Her golden eyes were serious, thoughtful. She spoke. It was a long speech, many sentences. Her voice was firm but gentle. Sora listened with wide eyes. When her mother finished, she turned to Taiho. There was something strange in her expression. Surprise? Hope? Mother says, Sora began, then stopped. She took a breath and started again. Mother says she has been thinking about her duty, about her life. She has ruled for 400 years. She has given everything to the empire. But she has never been happy. Not truly happy. Not until now. 400 years. Taiho tried to understand what that meant. What it would be like to live for so long. To carry so much responsibility for so many centuries. Sora continued. Mother says this past week has been the happiest of her life. Not because we were in danger, but because of what happened after. Because of you. She says she woke up this morning feeling something she has not felt in a very long time. Peace. Real peace. And she does not want to lose that. Taiho's heart was beating fast. He was not sure where this was going, but he felt like something important was happening. Mother says she cannot abandon her empire. She would not, but Sora hesitated. But she wants to make you an offer. An offer? Eunice spoke again. Shorter, this time. But her eyes never left Taiho's face. Mother wants you to come with us, Sora said. When our people find us. When we go back to the stars. She wants you to come. To live among the stars. To be part of our family. Forever. Forever. The word echoed in Taiho's mind. He thought about his cabin, his forest, his quiet, lonely life. He thought about the years he had spent here alone, the safety he had found in solitude, the protection of having no one to lose. Then he thought about Yuna and Sora, about the warmth of waking up beside them, about the sound of laughter in his cabin, about feeling like he belonged somewhere. Like he mattered to someone, about feeling like he had a family again. What about you? He asked Sora, what do you want? Sora's blue face turned that deeper shade again. She looked at the ground, then back up at him. I want you to come too, she said quietly. I want you to be my family. Real family. Not just because you saved us, but because. She struggled to find the words. Because I care about you. Because you are kind and brave and good. Because when I am with you, I feel safe. Taiho looked at these two aliens. This empress and princess who had fallen from the sky and crashed into his life. Who had changed everything he thought he knew about himself. About the universe